I walked into the dimly lit bar, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses echoing through the air. It was supposed to be just another quiet night after work, a moment to clear my head from the stress that had been building at home. Lately, my wife, Melissa, had grown distant. Late nights at work, constant phone notifications, and vague explanations that never quite added up. My gut told me something was wrong, but I didn't want to believe it. Tonight, though, something inside me told me to stop ignoring the signs. I parked my car a block away from the Blue Lantern, the bar she mentioned often when talking about after-office gatherings. My hands trembled slightly as I pushed open the door, hoping, praying, that I was just overthinking. But the second I stepped inside, the truth hit me like a cold slap. There she was, sitting in a corner booth, her back slightly arched, laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. Across from her was a man, tall, well-dressed, with his hand resting far too comfortably on hers. Their eyes met with a familiarity that no colleague should share. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched her reach across and touch his face. That simple, intimate gesture told me everything I needed to know. I didn't make a scene. I didn't yell, didn't throw a drink, didn't demand answers. Instead, I felt something inside me snap, not in rage, but in clarity. The noise around me faded, replaced by a sharp silence that only heartbreak can bring. I walked toward their table, slow and steady. Melissa looked up, and for a moment, the color drained from her face. "David," she stammered, her voice caught between guilt and shock. The man beside her froze, his smirk vanishing as he recognized me. "Don't stop on my account," I said quietly, my tone calm but cold. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my wedding ring, the one symbol of every promise she had just shattered, and placed it gently on the table beside her half-empty glass of wine. "You can keep that," I said. "Seems you've already forgotten what it meant." She reached out, panic flashing in her eyes. "David, wait. It's not what it looks like." I let out a soft, humorless laugh. "Melissa, please. If you're going to lie, at least pick something believable." I turned to the man beside her. "You should know, she's great at pretending. She's been doing it for years." Before she could respond, I stepped back, nodded once, and walked away. Behind me, I could hear her voice breaking, calling my name, but I didn't turn around. I walked out into the rain, letting it wash over me, every drop a reminder that this pain, while deep, was also freeing. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to my brother's house, handed him my keys, and told him I was done. The next morning, I called my lawyer. We had no kids, no shared property that couldn't be divided, but the emotional damage was plenty. I transferred everything that belonged to me out of joint accounts, filed for divorce, and blocked her number. For days, she tried to reach me. Messages, calls, emails filled with excuses and apologies. But I was done listening. I didn't need closure from her. The image of her hand on another man's face was all the closure I'd ever need. Weeks later, I walked into that same bar again, not as a broken man, but as someone who had survived. The bartender recognized me, gave a sympathetic nod, and slid a drink my way without saying a word. I looked around and realized the world hadn't ended. I had just finally stepped out of the illusion I'd been living in. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't need confrontation or revenge. Sometimes, the greatest power is in silence, in walking away with dignity, leaving behind only what was once a promise. When I left that ring on the table, I didn't just leave her. I left behind every lie, every excuse, every version of myself that tolerated being taken for granted. She can keep the memories, the regrets, the guilt. I walked away with my peace. And in the end, that's worth far more than anything she ever gave me.